Thank you, Daniel. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this meeting of the executive. Apologies for absence first. Councillor Harrison is away and Heather is the other side of the Pennines, but she is joining us online. In the room, we've got Councillor Parsons and Councillor Foster, and online we've got Councillor Peter Lacey and Councillor Haslam. So welcome to you all. The minutes of the meeting held on 16th of September. Are you happy that I signed those as a true record? I'm seeing nods. Thank you. Does anybody have any declarations of interest? None being declared. So that takes us into item 4, which is public questions and statements, all to do with item 5, but we will take them now anyway because item 5 follows on. I believe the first public question is going to come from Matthew Ward. So Matthew, would you like to come to the table?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, councillors and officers. My name is Matthew Ward and I'm a resident of Richmond, and with my entire family, long-term frequent users of Richmond Pool. I would like to start by recognising the commitment which North Yorkshire Council is showing to Richmond by finding the money to repair our pool. I'm extremely grateful for the work of many to get to this stage. This crucial resource cannot be allowed to fall into disrepair and closure again. It is a cornerstone of our community, an iconic building and a vital swimming facility for the people of Richmond and beyond. We hope it will continue to provide opportunities for exercise, training, rehabilitation, social interaction and fun for many years to come. Throughout this long closure, consultation and decision-making process, thousands of people have missed out on opportunities to swim and enjoy the pool. All we wanted was it to be fixed, improved and reopened as soon as possible. And I'm really glad that it finally seems to be happening. Now it is vital that the work is carried out swiftly and to an excellent standard. And once the pool is reopened, it is crucial that it is run with vigour and purpose to recapture those users who have been denied access for what will be a year. Clubs and schools who've had to make alternative, inferior arrangements, coaches and staff who really want the pool to be a success. We need those who value our pool back in and around the water. And we need to get more users. People who've never been or used to go years ago and were put off by regular closures, cold changing rooms and unmotivated staff. And to that end, I would like to ask councillors and officers to confirm previous offers of ongoing dialogue with a community group of users and stakeholders to feedback our experiences and to look for opportunities for improvement. We have ideas that need to be taken into account. The user experience of the pool must improve. Finally, I would like assurances about future investment. While it is wonderful that it looks like the money is forthcoming for a set of immediate needs to reopen the pool, it needs to be acknowledged that a facility which will celebrate 50 years of use next year will need more investment in the future. Given our only alternative is an MOD-owned facility already bursting at the seams in a growing military town, Richmond Pool and leisure facilities must remain viable. What guarantees can the council give us that running costs will be met for the foreseeable future, and when the next costly repair or improvement is needed, that money will be found? Thank you.
Sam, can I come to you for a response, please?
So, thank you very much, Mr. Ward. Subject to the decision that my colleagues and I will take shortly, I'm delighted that the council is committing £1.2 million to ensure the reopening of the pool. And just for those who don't know, this is an extra meeting of the executive. We brought forward this specific item, separated it from the rest of the considerations of the strategic leisure review so that we can get on with it. And I can tell you that officers in our leisure and wellbeing service are itching to get their hands on Richmond Pool and get it reopened. But more formally, we are happy to consider the views of users of the facility at Richmond and to engage in positive dialogue. Any local groups or forums that can provide a representative view of users are welcome to arrange a meeting with the management team at site. Further communication will be included in the marketing plan for reopening, and we will promote and encourage feedback through implementation of digital systems, including a new leisure management system. We are investing over £1 million in undertaking repairs to the pool. This will deal with a lot of long-standing issues. Thereafter, life cycle repairs will continue to be undertaken as required. In addition to this, we further committed to replacing the gym and fitness equipment at the Liberty Gym. This is combined a significant investment in the future of the Richmond leisure site. As is the case with any of our facilities and services, they may be subject to further review at some point in the future. But given the level of investment, we fully expect that Richmond will continue to operate for the foreseeable future. If I was to say this, you will see the commitment of the executive and the council. But in 15, 16 months, there's an election. Who knows what you will get and whether that commitment to discretionary services will continue. But we are committed to it. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Simon. You do have the right to a short supplementary question if you'd like to put one. Okay, thank you. Can I now move on then, please, to Julie Young, who's going to make a statement, I understand.
Morning. We would like to thank you for the proposal of the allocated funding to carry out the necessary works to Richmond Swimming Pool and the commitment that David Ashbridge made at the meeting on the 27th of September to the long-term existence and vision of Richmond Pool. We hope that with the strong and consistent support shown for keeping the pool open, the funding will now be formally agreed today so the work can begin without further delay. Our principal concern in relation to Richmond Swimming Pool is the issue of footfall. We would like assurance that under the external management arrangements currently in place, there are structured plans to increase usage of the facility. Specifically, we seek confirmation that initiatives are being developed to introduce additional activities, classes and events that will attract new and returning users, thereby generating increased revenue and supporting the long-term sustainability of both the pool and the cafe. This is of particular importance given that the pool will already have lost customers during the period it has been closed, as well as staff connected to lessons and classes, and therefore must work harder to rebuild its customer base. It is noted that Northallerton Swimming Pool has now been closed. However, unlike the process followed for Richmond Swimming Pool, there has been no notification of a consultation survey being undertaken. For consistency, transparency and fairness across all facilities, we believe that the same consultation process should have been carried out in respect of Northallerton, ensuring local users had the opportunity to express their views, as it was interesting to hear the views of Richmondshire.
Simon, would you like to respond?
Yes, thank you very much for your question, and to all of you for coming today to see the executive in action. I'm pleased you've met David Ashbridge, who is an excellent officer, and he has a great personal commitment to seeing Richmond Pool and Gym work. And just more generally, I would say that the team that we have in our leisure and wellbeing service that drew up the strategy that we adopted 2 years ago now, that have worked on this leisure investment strategy, who have taken other services in-house, deliver excellent service. And they're about the communities we serve. They're about increasing footfall. They're about reaching people who've never thought of taking their health seriously, because that's part of what we're committed to. So I hope you will see real results in Richmond. More formally, the answer that I have to read out for the record, and you'll get copies of these, but we are very keen to ensure the usage of Richmond Pool and Liberty Gym are maximised once the pool reopens. We will be reviewing the pool timetable and offer alongside the marketing strategy for the site. We also expect that the additional investment in new gym and fitness equipment at Liberty will provide an attractive offer to both existing and new potential members. Just as far as Northallerton Pool is concerned, it closed on the 29th of September due to an unexpected water pipe leak. A team of pool plant specialists are currently working to repair the issue. And I think did it open at the weekend? Not yet, but any day soon it will reopen. The scale of this repair is very minor in comparison to the work at Richmond. But for your assurance, we've assessed the position regarding Northallerton as part of our wider leisure investment strategy. It's been identified as an important site which will be retained, and therefore we are not looking at further options in relation to the site, and consequently haven't involved ourselves in further consultation. So that's the distinction between Richmond, that obviously is a very big financial issue, and Northallerton, which is a minor repair, lifetime repair, really. Okay, so thank you.
Okay, thank you, Simon. And no supplementary? Okay. And I understand, Julie, that you're going to read out the question from Rachel Simpson.
That's right, yeah. Get my glasses off. Firstly, we thank the council for their investment in Richmond Swimming Pool. I would like to know if any investigation is ongoing regarding the failures of the repair work just 2 years ago. Will any compensation be paid to the council for these failures? Why was the issue not picked up during these surveys? And what extra due diligence on the contractor is being done to ensure that we are not in the same position in 2 years' time? Thank you.
Well, you don't need this bit anyway, do you, Barry? It's just waffle. But I was a lawyer in real life, so I'm afraid I do have a slightly litigious tendency. I have to be calmed down by the officers. But the situation is that we took over the management on the 1st of March from Richmond Leisure Trust, and we do not hold detailed project information about the previous works. We believe the works were to the roof of the building and window replacement, and these are separate to the internal ceiling failure. They are not related. That again was one of my first questions about how you could do a roof and not see the faults with the ceiling, but they are discrete issues. We have no information to suggest that compensation would be appropriate, and North Yorkshire Council has made no claim in respect to previous works. A condition report was undertaken as part of the transfer of the leisure assets back to the council. A visual inspection was undertaken of the ceiling cladding, and it was found to have no faults at the time of the survey. A procurement exercise is currently being planned to appoint a contractor to undertake the required works. All contractors considered will be competent, hold insurance. The works will be managed and monitored throughout, and works will be certified by building control as required. And we take some comfort in the fact we have, as a council, our own arm's length company of specialist surveyors and technical geeks who will keep a very close eye on this and who were responsible for the survey that we have now carried out of the whole property. So no, unfortunately, it doesn't look like we can get the money back off anybody. It doesn't look as though they're connected issues. This is a failure of an internal structure and isn't related to the roof, strange as it may seem. But I really understand where the question is coming from, because that's where I started from. Thank you.
There is a crisis with building control, just to make sure, obviously, there is somebody that's going to be coming out to look at it, because
Believe me, we're spending £1.2 million from my budget. Councillor Dowd, who is very tight, and me, who doesn't like seeing money wasted, will make sure that everything is done absolutely properly. We'll be keeping a very, very close eye on it. And of course, our officers are the ones who are going to be working there and seeing that it succeeds. So it is in our interest to make sure it's done right.
Okay, thank you for that. We did have another submission that came in well after time, and actually came in two halves. The first half was 2 pages long and the next half was 10 pages long. So I'm not proposing that we actually discuss that today, because it did come in out of time. But Simon, is there anything that you want to say to Jackie Stubbs?
Happy to, and I hope she appreciates the rules, and we will send a written reply dealing with all the details of it. But I think if I could just summarise the answer, and then we'll make sure you get a proper detailed answer. One of the first questions you asked was about whether we'd explored things like heritage lottery funding. The short answer is yes, we've considered it, but we don't believe, with some considerable experience of applying for heritage lottery funding, we don't believe that Richmond Pool would fit in the criteria. They tend to be more historic structures, and they are invested in as part of that aspect of it, rather than in terms of providing public leisure and well-being facilities. But we always have our eyes out to any external sources of funding. It's one of the things across the portfolio in culture and the arts and in leisure and well-being that we are very attuned to. It enables councils to deliver what they could not otherwise deliver. So we will continually be looking for any. See, we can spend £1 million on a swimming pool. We can't actually have systems that don't flash at you to tell you you're being boring. And response to your question about surveys of the building, we have undertaken. Yeah, just it wants to turn itself on. Yeah, every aspect of the building, and we will ensure that, I think all of the main issues that you raise are issues that are dealt with as part of the planned programme of works. And we have also committed to funding the replacement of the gym and fitness equipment at Liberty, we try and avoid closures. We're very conscious of the history of Richmond and how that has not helped drive footfall, and we'll do everything we can to make sure the service is maintained, because we want to build on the usage of that pool. That's our commitment, is to reopen it. We hope there's a commitment from the people of Richmond to use it. And then I think more generally, you'll see, I think you mentioned some of the options and whether we'd looked at them. The report did examine a number of options as far as Richmond Pool's concerned, reconfiguring it, moving the gym into it. And if you see the report, you'll see the financial restrictions and implications of that. The great difficulty with Richmond Pool is that it's a very constrained site. It was a difficulty that Richmond District Council had. It was a difficulty that the Trust had. But one has to work with what one's got. And so we'll get the pool reopened, more, I hope, better performing, less heavily subsidised, more usage, update the gym, and we'll try and make it a really good facility for the people of Richmond. That's our commitment. We did discuss matters with the MOD, and perhaps I'll just come on to that when I open the report for consideration by my colleagues. But you'll see that all the financial implications of any course of action are set out in the report. I believe that the option that I will be putting forward to the leader and my colleagues is the best one, and the best one in terms of delivering this service in Richmond.
Okay, thank you, Simon. I think that nicely brings us to the report. So I'd like to turn to that item now and ask you to introduce it, please, Simon.
That doesn't like me either. Well, members will be very well aware that shortly after we took Richmond Pool and Liberty Gym back in-house, before we'd had a chance to get our feet under the table of it and see how we could deliver better and attract more users, we were hit with this problem with the identified structural work to the ceiling. And we commissioned specialist reports on that, and while we're at it, we looked at other facilities like the air handling unit and the pool plant. And so it became apparent that in order to reopen this facility to the public, the council would have to spend a considerable sum of money. The difficulty with this, and I'm sure people in Richmond do appreciate this, is that it is, and this may be partly the problem of COVID, of the closures, of various other difficulties, and the fact that we weren't running it. Historically, it's one of the less well used leisure facilities in North Yorkshire. It has one of the lower footfalls for the size of the population. And we're conscious of the fact that there is Catterick up the road, Beedale and Northallerton, not too far away. So it seemed right that before we committed to spending money, we did a proper options appraisal to see what could be done what needed to be spent, what the options were, and to take the views of the residents of Richmond. And we've done that. And it seems to me, Leader, that when one considers the various options, the best one in terms of delivering our health, leisure and well-being strategy across North Yorkshire is to reopen this pool, to spend the money we need to on making it properly operational, to do some other small improvements, to see that the gym has up-to-date equipment for users, and then to very much tie it into our wider strategy in terms of outreach, working with communities and working with those who have traditionally not seen themselves as people who can get fit. Because our purpose in all of this is to see that our residents are able to keep fitter, healthier, more fulfilled and independent. And that's what our leisure facilities are there for. They're for sporting excellence. Of course, I know people who've trained in Richmond Pool have gone on to great things, but they're also for people like me, people who traditionally shy away from doctors and losing weight and all of that. And so any path we can offer our residents to fitness is important. And it's for that reason, Leader, that I do put forward the recommendation of the report that we agree to fund the necessary repairs as are identified. It will cost in the region of £1.2 million, and the recommendation is that is funded from the strategic capacity unallocated reserve. So that is what I urge my colleagues to do. What I would say as well is I urge the people of Richmond to work with our team there to see that what I want to see come out of that does come out of that. And that in a few years' time, David Asbridge is saying, look at the success of Richmond Pool. Look how we've cut the subsidy. Look how we've delivered better for more people. So that's what I would like to see. You know, it's a two-way street, this. We'll put the money in, but please make it worth our while to do that.
Thank you, Simon. Councillor Parsons. Stuart, would you like to come to the table, please?
Are we on now? For sort of background information, this whole situation came about because the councillors at Richmondshire were sold a dud many, many years ago. If you remember, local authorities liked the idea of getting rid of things and hoping that somebody else would take them on. And so the swimming pool became one of the first victims in Richmond where they were cost cutting. And it was turned into a private trust. We were all convinced or told that that would enable the Leisure Trust to then apply for huge amounts of grants and money that would mean that the pool would be better treated and would then be totally independent. And of course, Richmondshire at the beginning agreed an annual allocation, which was to be reduced annually as it became more and more able to look after itself. That never happened. And that's why you're all saddled with this £400,000 subsidy at the moment. Obviously, we're very happy that it's going to be repaired, and hopefully it will be repaired properly, unlike the solar panels that were fitted under the district council, which apparently doubled the cost of utilities at the swimming pool. But I know David is looking at that and trying to work out why. suggest they added other things to the circuit just so they could get away with it. But it has to be done properly. Okay, why does this happen? I know, but it shouldn't. So anyway, I hope you will continue to work with them and suggest that David, who has been quite a good advocate for Richmond and has been very open about everything that's going on there, be sort of allocated to continue that discussion with them. I find him very honest and trustworthy. He may prove me wrong, but I doubt it. So please support the swimming pool. And please stop listening to the babble that comes out of the private company running the MOD site. They told our officers that the population of the garrison was not going to increase. We are still slated as a super garrison. We've just got a very large health service or health centre which is about to be completed, which at this point in time is exclusively or almost exclusively for military personnel, despite us criticising that because the money did not come from the MOD, it came from the general taxpayer. We have just authorised 2 huge buildings at Marne Barracks to accommodate the garrison from Ripon, as that is closed and then that site becomes available for housing. The garrison is growing and the pool has a primary purpose, and that is to support the military population. So depending on deployments and depending on the injury levels at the Infantry Training Centre, it could become exclusively military. Whilst they're offering opportunities at the moment, they cannot guarantee and will not be able to ever in the future. And I did ask Nick and David for a meeting with myself and Councillor Foster to discuss the garrison. We're still waiting, but hopefully it will come. Thank you.
Simon, did you want to respond to any of Stuart's points, or can we just note them?
No, only to say that I suppose at the end of the day, one of the things that has influenced the recommendation of the report is something that Councillor Parsons has highlighted, that whilst there are excellent facilities in the garrison, we don't control them. And whilst there may be very positive mood music at the moment, we're not in control of what happens at Catterick Garrison. The MOD will have their own plans. Government has their own plans. You get changes of government, and so who knows? And this is partly about us looking after our own. So it's a point well made, Stuart.
Thank you, Simon. Anybody else want to come in on this item? Gareth?
Before I pass comment, can I just ask, perhaps Joan, I perhaps should have warned you I was going to ask this, but I've just been prompted to ask it when we've been focusing on usage and patronage. In the business case that's showing a, I'm trying to find it now, 530 in round figures average subsidy, and we should never forget that that's what we will be committing to today should we approve the recommendations. Is there any stretch targets baked into that for increased patronage or not, or is that the average worst case, best case scenario?
Yeah, thanks. So in relation, so this is quite, the financial position here is quite complex. For ease, so that we could assess each of the options consistently, we've used the same set of assumptions. So therefore it's over 15 years, and it also assumed capital borrowing and capital repayments. And that was all done on a consistent basis. And that's where the 500 and Sorry, the 528 comes from. Now that 528,000, it doesn't cost us that to operate Richmond Pool. Now, obviously this is complicated because we've only just taken back Richmond Pool, and obviously it was operated under a different system. The current budget this year, 25-26, which is what we expect it to cost us to operate Richmond Pool, is just over 400,000. Because and that takes into account obviously the income, the expenditure, central costs, and what have you. So that's what we actually expect it to cost us. Now, we actually hope to be able to reduce that, as Councillor Myers says, in terms of as we're operating it, obviously as it's part of bigger Active North Yorkshire with opportunities around economies of scale as well, then we would expect to see that £400,000 reducing over the coming years.
And I can understand why we have positioned this for comparison purposes. We are spending or likely to commit £1.2 million capital expenditure, take the capital repayments and all the rest of it into account. We are still looking, are we not, at an expected comparative £530,000 a year subsidy to Richmond Pool. That's the commitment we're likely to make.
I think I'm going to defer to my finance colleagues because we're not proposing to fund this through borrowing, are we? So there won't be a capital repayment. It's coming from the unallocated reserve.
Yeah, I think we're all saying the same thing, really. There's an operating subsidy of 408,000, and on top of that, there's the capital repayments of 120,000. So yes, there is a upfront cost of doing the works, and then there's an ongoing subsidy position that the revenue budget paid for from council taxpayers will be funding going forward, with the hope that we will reduce that subsidy over time.
Yeah, and I think the advocacy of Councillor Myers and other colleagues has been strong, and at this stage I'm happy to support that, but I think we've got to send a very, very clear and strong message that this has been hard. I'll be honest, I find it hard to justify based on the financials of this. I'm happy to support it on this occasion, but it's still hard to justify when you bear in mind the overall financial risk that this authority faces. This is a non-statutory service. We are, and I know that there's some debate to be had over the ability for the pool at Catterick to take up the slack, if you like, should it have closed, and that agreement would have to be nailed on. But nonetheless, when we look at the financial predicament that this authority and every other local authority up and down the country is facing over the medium term, it's still a difficult justification to make. And ultimately, it will come down, it'd be a decision for future authorities, I'm sure, post-27, whether the subsidy, if it hasn't been substantially reduced, can continue to be justified. So the message is, we've got to do our bit by working with the user groups and the community to try and get that patronage increased, and therefore, hopefully, the subsidy to be reduced. But I just cast my mind looking at Councillor Taylor here, represents a division near Easingwold that's probably 10 or 15 mile away from another facility. And yet we have one here that I think it's 12 mile from Bedale. We ain't got a facility in Easingwold. So I suppose that the plea is we've got to do our bit, but so's the community to try and reduce that subsidy, because the authority, certainly in terms of capital spend, we're taking it from unallocated reserves, and I can't remember off the top of my head, but without action, this authority will only survive for 2 point something years by drawing upon those reserves. We're losing another 1.2 million today. Likely, it can't continue, and ultimately, we're going to have to take some very, very difficult decisions that won't be popular with either the public, ourselves, or politically. So, whilst I'm happy to support today, Carl, because of the advocacy that's been made from the local community and Councillor Myers, I've got to give a very, very strong warning about the future ability of this authority to make such positive decisions going forward.
Okay, thank you, Gareth. Does anybody else want to come in before we move to the recommendation? No, Mark, please.
Picking up slightly from what Gareth has said, I think we have to face the fact that over the coming years, we're going to have some difficult decisions to make, whether it's the people sat around this table now or another group altogether. And the fact that the government took as much money as it did off us last year and again this year makes these decisions all the harder. I mean, that rural facilities grant, 14.3 million, is an eye-watering sum of money. And other things that the government's taken off of us. I'm going to support option 1 today, the recommendation that we do put this money into Richmond Pool, because I think at the moment it's the right thing to do. But like Councillor Dadd, in the future we may have to make some very difficult decisions across Yorkshire for the facilities that we have. And I would just say that I think we should thank the MOD for allowing use of the pool over the period of time that Richmond has been shut. I've heard what Councillor Parsons has said. A thank you to them for what they've done to allow people to make use of that pool. And I really do hope that the people of Richmond look at this, see it as an opportunity and make more use of the pool, because frankly, if the usage slips away, then we will have to make a difficult decision in coming years. But as I say, I'm happy to support Councillor Myers today.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Anybody else? If not, Simon, would you like to move the recommendation?
Unallocated reserve to enable Richmond Pool to reopen to the public.
Thank you, Simon. Is that seconded? Mark, thank you. And because we're spending a considerable amount of money. Heather, would you like to introduce this item, please? Item 6.
Sorry, thank you very much. I think your microphone went off there. The working group for the Local Government Boundary Commission unexpectedly had to come back into order, as it were, because of the unexpected results of the initial consultations. And it's been one of the longest working groups I think we've ever had. And I think it's been a good example of cross-party working, because I think there was a couple of phrases that particularly leapt out at me, that we understood between us that there was no perfect solution and that we had to represent different perspectives. And I'm sure that the people who've been taking part in that would understand that. It's been quite some piece of work, and I must commend obviously, as we've said previously, Councillor Will for the amount of time, and Will and all the other team for supporting this. And it is shown some sort of pragmatism from the Boundary Commission, in that a lot of the boundary working groups consultation submissions were actually taken on board, which has been quite refreshing. So it's a very light touch, this last piece of consultation, hopefully, because of the results of the submission being taken on board. So hopefully we can support this and allow the Councillor Wheel and the appropriate delegated officer to put forward the submission, because we only have until next week to make this happen. I think that it's been a good example of where individual submissions have been taken to heart by the Boundary Commission, and I would commend anyone who has a particular issue to make their own submission while we still can, to make the boundaries the most sensible thing that we can for those 89 councillors. So yes, I'm quite happy to commend this and take questions if anyone has anything in particular. Thank you.
Okay, Heather, thank you. Does anybody have any questions or comments to make on this item? No. Heather, I understand that you can't move the recommendations because you're not in the room. So if there's no comments, right, I have two, one from Richard and one from Simon.
I was just going to move the recommendation, if that's all right for you. I did sit on the boundary working group, and on the whole, we appear to have been listened to from our what we brought forward after the previous thing. I would say there's still probably a few minor adjustments that are out there that probably individual members could probably comment on, you know, as they move forward in parishes and stuff like that. But I think this is probably as far as we can go. You move one boundary and you end up moving 10. It is such a hard piece of work to do. So, but happy to move the recommendations as they stand.
I don't think you caught that because my microphone went off as well. So can you do item 7, please, Heather?
Great, thank you. I think we'll have to work on British Sign Language the way we're going today. So yes, Area Committee feedback report. It's we only met yesterday to fully update ourselves about this. There's lots and lots of different things going around all our area committees, and a meeting was convened last month to actually physically meet rather than Teams, and I think it was very productive in that we were able to sit in the same room, because it's a different experience having a Teams meeting and trying to discuss things from across such a massive area. And it just showed how many common themes there are and how many common concerns there were. So it was a very important piece of work that we did there. And I hope that now we'll be able to go forward with a little bit more of cohesion and maybe work better with our scrutiny partners in an effort to address issues that may sound very parochial but have a particular concern for the whole of North Yorkshire. And it's only by meeting as such a area committee group, as it were, that we're able to do so. So it's a very comprehensive report, and if anyone's got any items that I think they need to pull out from it, then I'm sure that all of our colleagues on area committees, the chairs and vice chairs, will be very happy to look into those and get some help from the executive to make things happen for them.
Okay. Thank you, Heather, for that. Does anybody have any comments? I mean, I just make one comment first. I'm very pleased to see that our MPs are engaging with our area committees on a regular basis, and also that the mayor has accepted my invitation to come to area committees on an annual basis. So, Simon, you want to come in?
Thank you. It's just one specific point. really on a matter that was before the Selby and Ainsty Area Committee, concerning the way forward with various community centres. And I simply want to say there appears to have been perhaps a misunderstanding of the briefing which they received. It was regrettable that the officer concerned couldn't be there, but it seems that the members have read from this that some decisions have been taken. They haven't. They won't be taken without full consultation and appraisal of the sites, consultation with the residents and the users, and with members. So they need to have no fear on that. I'm sorry if anything led to a misunderstanding on that point.
Okay, thank you, Simon. Anybody else want to come in? If not, then can we note the report? And we have considered matters in our pre-meeting. So let us move on then, please, to item 8. And I'm back to you again, Heather. Is there anything that we need? Anything we need to note about the forward plan?
I think that the next meeting in a couple of weeks is going to be very extensive, as there's been a lot of items added, and I know that some that maybe should have been included in October have had to move to November because of the work involved. So it is very extensive, and it's a very diverse offering as well. So hopefully there'll be something from each area, as I know we're very keen to make sure that all of our different areas are considered on the forward plan and make sure things happen for them in that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Heather. And can we just be clear that we have asked that an interim report still comes for the Whitby cliff lift on the 21st of October, please, if that's possible. Okay, that brings us to the end of the meeting. There's no urgent business. Very remiss of me not to welcome Pete to your first executive meeting, Pete. So with that, I'm going to thank you all for your contributions and your participation today, and I'll close the meeting. Thank you.